And now, after years of planning, sweating, and going broke, here is the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
I'll alert the media.
Why they would give this man a podcast is anyone's guess.
Then there is what could only be a bizarre coincidence or something else.
Welcome to the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Country music and fine moonshine. Finally, a podcast that lets it all hang out.
Let's level with America.
Got your boots? Ready for some whiskey?
These boots are made for walking.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And now, the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome to episode 330. Like, holy shit, right? Today we have Randy Brown on the show. For those of you that don't know who Randy Brown is, don't be hard on yourself, because I didn't know who Randy Brown is, and I'm so glad I know who he is now. Randy is a jack of all trades, a renaissance man, if you will, in the world of country music, Western shit, right? Randy is the guy. And if you've been watching our posts, you know Randy is not an old man. We're going to talk about that too with Randy. I was surprised, and I wish you would have been as surprised as I was. But Randy, I think, is younger than me, which is awesome because this kid is doing some cool ass shit. He's releasing his own music under Olin Tucker. He is the TM for one of the probably greatest voices in country music over the last 30 years. You're going to find out about that. I don't want to give it all away. He is the fucking shit, is what it boils down to. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I enjoyed having Randy on. A big thank you to our friend Wes Barlow for really, I mean, without Wes, I'm not even sure this episode happened. So a big thank you to him. That's really it. What did we do this past weekend? We went and saw Lakeview. For those of you that don't know who Lakeview is, if you like that, like country metal, country heavy rock, like they're the ones for you. If you don't like that, they're not the ones for you. Okay, they're under the umbrella. I enjoy them. Had a great time at the show. Big thank you to them. We're going to talk about that. On the flip side, what else? I think that's it. We were in Florida last week, so thank you so much for, sticking with us. And things have been slow, but things are going to start to build up. You may say to yourself, Jim, that's a great Boots and Whiskey Podcast hoodie. You're absolutely right. It is. It is one of one. It doesn't have to be, though. I'm gonna put them up on our shop soon. I promise. I'm lazy as all fuck, but we're getting there. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, Randy. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time and shooting the shit. Sit back, relax, guys. Enjoy the episode, and that's it, guys. Cheers.
Cool. Yeah, we can do that.
So thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I gotta thank Wes because he's the one that got us in touch. So
yeah, man, Wes is a he's a good dude, man. He called me up. He's like, "Hey, man, do you want to do this Boots and Whiskey podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a blast. Let's do it." He goes, "Do you know Jim?" I was like, "Not at all."
It's funny because it's like I made all these friends, right, or what I consider friends. They probably don't give a fuck about me, and that's fine. But like I got to meet Wes finally 2 weeks ago at Country Calling in Maryland, and
nice.
It was awesome. It was really cool it's cool when you get to meet people that you talk to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was cool. It was cool. But from what I hear, you got a lot of cool shit going on.
Dude, I'm in it. It's funny because actually, speaking of Wes, Wes's wife thought I was an old man at one point. Like,
I thought you were an old man too.
Yeah, dude, the stories, I've lived 3 lifetimes already, dude. I have been around the block a couple of times, and it's surprising that I'm still alive and I'm still making it right now.
I hear that.
Yeah. We were out doing one of my buddies, another friend of mine. he was out traveling and he called and asked if I'd come and help him out. And I said, I'd love to. So I went out on the road with him, and then he needed another fiddle player. And I was like, you know what? I know Wes. Let's call up Wes. Let's get Wes into it. Wes jumped on the bus and we started traveling around. I was, I didn't know sheep shit from fresh wild honey when it came to the music industry at this time. So I was like, yeah, I'll just come help out. I'll just come be an extra set of hands. And in that time, I got really tight with Wes and we had a lot of fun together. And I just kept telling stories like they just kind of pop into my head. And Wes, like the dude can tell a story like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so we're talking and whatnot, and we were doing the Greeley Stampede. I want to say it was 2 years ago, not this past summer, but the summer before. So it was two Greeley Stampedes ago, and Wes lives in Greeley right now, Greeley, Colorado. And he's like, "Hey, why don't you guys come over to the house? I'll cook some steaks. We'll have some fun." I was like, "Great." I grew up in Colorado. I have a bunch of friends out there, so I was seeing some homies. And so I go over to their house and I knock on the door, and Wes's wife answers the door and she gives me this real rusty look. And I'm just like, oh, like, is this the wrong place? And I kind of like look at the number. I'm like, no, this is it. I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm Randy. And she goes, you're Randy? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, do you know one of my exes? Like, my bad. And so we had dinner and everything like that. And Wes is just laughing. And he comes back. He goes, dude, my wife thought you were like 60 years old because of the stories that you have and the places that you've been.
Honest to God, the way it was told to me and the way, you and I have thrown some texts back and forth, like, knowing some of the things you've done and do, it's like, okay, makes sense. Older guy,
Yeah.
like, cool. Like, no, like, I don't give a shit. But, then you pop up, I'm here, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this kid's younger than me. But, it's a pleasant surprise. And I say that because, for you being, your age in this industry and doing what you've done, and we're going to get into all of it, but it's pretty fucking badass.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of surreal for me because to kind of where it all started out is I knew what a G, a C, and a D chord was on a guitar in high school because one of my buddies told me, he's like, oh man, chicks love it. You got to learn how to play guitar. And I was like, okay, cool. That sounds like a great idea. So I kind of knew that, but I didn't really do anything with it. All through college, I ran track. I was a decathlete for Division II track, and at one point, I was ranked 12th in the nation for decathlon.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was fun. I thought that's the only reason I went to college. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this as long as I can, and then I'm just going to go be a rancher. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm going to leave it at. And I was good with that. Well, the end of my college track career, I ended up blowing my hip up. And at 24 years old, I had to get hip surgery.
Damn.
And I needed something to do. And so there was a guitar, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to work on this guitar and I'm going to play and I'm going to have fun. And I mean, it's brought me all the way here to Nashville. It's got me into some cool circles, a lot of fun people, and really, really good people too. I got to say that the people that I've been able to surround myself with inside the music industry are some of the best people on God's green earth. And they're those people that want to see everybody win. And Wes is a great example of that. Wes is one of those guys that he wants his friends to win. And, here we are.
Right. Now, so when you pick up that guitar, is where you are now anywhere you would imagine? Like, did you want to just write songs or play songs, or like, what did that look like? Did you even give a shit? Were you just kind of fucking around?
I just didn't give a shit. At the end of the day, I was like, you know what? It's something to do, and it's fun. And then what happened was I started actually really, really enjoying it and playing songs and like going to a stage and seeing faces that I've never seen before and play. And then all of a sudden they're singing along and they're having fun and they're bobbing along. I remember the first time I got paid. I remember getting $100 bill from a guy, and he's like, here, man, this is for you. Thanks for coming. And I was like, for what? And he's like, you played tonight. Like this is your pay for tonight. And I was like, really? Like I can get paid to do this?
Right.
And then I became a menace in Western Colorado. I was cold calling everybody that I could, emailing. I'm going to be there at this time. I'm going to be out there. I would love to come play for you. It's like, you have no idea who I am, but I'm going to introduce you. You're going to figure out who I am.
Right.
And that's just kind of how it all started. And then um, I was playing stages, little bars, just around Grand Junction, Colorado, which is where I grew up. And then it got to I got a really good ranching job out in Aspen, Colorado. I was managing ranches out there. One of them was the lady that owned every single discount tire across the country. Um, and then yeah, she had some money.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah. And the other one was actually Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
Holy
And I
shit.
was managing their place out in Aspen. And it got to the point where music was kind of overlapping with ranching. So I would wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning and I'd do all the chores that I could get done. I'd feed everything, I'd shovel stalls, I'd go do whatever I needed to do. And then by about 11 a.m., I'd hit the road to Laramie, Wyoming. And I'd go to Laramie, Wyoming. I'd get there at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd load in. I'd play a show. I'd be done at 10 p.m., jump in the truck, be back home by 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then just start again. And
Damn.
it was just one of those things where it's like, man, like it's starting to overlap. It's starting to um, be a bit of an issue. And
Yeah.
so I actually, I remember the decision, like the point that I decided, I was like, I got the rest of my life to take care of some rich person's ranch. I might as well go out and give this music thing a try. Just be in the music industry, just be present, be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I sat down with Kurt. I was like, "Hey man, I'd love to talk to you." And they had just came to one of my shows. I played some little bar in Basalt, Colorado. Um, and they were there and they were having a blast. And I was told Kurt, I was like, "Man, like I hate doing this because they treated me like family."
Yeah.
They will still call and they will still Goldie. For the longest time, I didn't think Goldie knew my name. She called me honey and dear and darling and sweetie, but that's just who she is. Like she's
Right.
one of the sweetest people on earth, and she'll still call me and honey, how are you? What do you need? Are you hungry? Are you this? Are you that? And I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I'm making it, and
Right. Right.
I still keep in touch with the family. They still reach out. We still talk a lot. And so I sat down with Kurt and I told him, I was like, man, like I really want to give this a go. And he kind of leaned back in his chair and he kind of chuckled and he looked over his shoulder and he said, honey, I told you. And in my head, I was like, told me what? He goes, we were just talking about 2 weeks ago how we want to encourage you to do this, but we don't want it to seem like you're being fired. And I was like, man, like that's it. Like that solidifies it. I'm going to give it the old college try.
Yeah.
And moved out to Nashville. And I had no idea when I was in, right after college in a hip brace, learning how to play, a bar chord, like that I would be in this position.
Yeah. Now I gotta ask you because now that you bring it up, it's got all kinds of questions in my brain. When when people like that, like that sounded really bad, but when people like that have a ranch like that, right? Is it for anything like particular, or is it just to have? Like, are they raising cattle to sell? Are they doing that sort of thing, or is it
It,
just
it, it was a little bit of both, like
okay?
for them, like it was their escape. It was getting out of the city. It was in the mountains. And Kurt has been going to Aspen for, I mean, gosh, since the 60s, man. Like he's been around the block. He has played
Right.
the game and he just loved that area. The kids, Goldie has her kids from her previous marriage. Kurt has a son from her previous marriage, and together they have one, Wyatt. The kids grew up going to Aspen. Like to them, like that's their second home.
Right.
And Kurt, those ranches, the best way to explain it, unless you're actually selling a lot of cattle, those ranches hemorrhage money.
Yeah.
They're a cost is what they are. But we raised cattle. We had cows, we had horses. The neighbors had water buffalo. Dude, that was an experience. Water buffalo get out. I wake up one morning and I jump in the side by side and I'm cruising down the driveway, just kind of going to check fence and whatnot. And there's a water buffalo eating on my hay. And I don't know if you've ever come across a water buffalo,
No.
but dude, they are enormous.
Yeah.
They are massive. And this thing just stops and it's just chewing and it just stares at me. And it gives me this look like, I dare you. I dare you to make me move. And so I call up my neighbor. I'm like, hey, your water buffalo got out. And she's like, oh, you can just shoo him away. I was like, absolutely not. You can come over here and get this Leviathan off of my property. But there was a lot of, we grew hay and we sold the hay. Up there in the mountains, you only get maybe if you time it right and the weather works out for you, you get 2 cuttings out of it.
Okay.
Like down here in Nashville, the place that I work on right now in the off time when I'm not out on the road, we get 3 or 4 cuttings out of the year, which is nice.
Yeah.
But in Colorado, man, I tell everybody you got 9 months of winter and 3 months of shitty sledding. So that's just the way that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. We see, I live in New England, right? And like, you've been up here, like we don't have shit like that. You know what I mean? And like, we have farms and stuff, but that's it. It's not
hmm
crazy, right? And I see, I watch Yellowstone like everybody else. And, and I always wonder, is it really like that?
It's not. It's
No.
well, I mean, it's weird. Like Yellowstone is like a mix of like a dude ranch and an actual ranch.
Okay.
Like the dude ranch provides the experience where you can put on the chaps, you can get on a horse, you can go out, do a trail ride. And there's a lot of people in that area that's all they have horses for is to jump on a horse and just ride out on a trail. Don't get me wrong. By all means, it's one of the coolest experiences on earth is you're riding a horse through some trails, especially right now. All the leaves are yellow, all the aspen trees, the mountainside looks like it's on fire. And
Yeah.
then when that first winter snow falls, like you got the snow on top of the mountains and then it mixes in with the yellow leaves, and then you got the green field in the bottom of the valley. It's one of the coolest things on earth. And being on a horse is one of the coolest ways to experience it. But out there, I mean, just the cost of doing anything is
Yeah.
just wild. It's
Yeah.
expensive. And if you really want to do cows, man, it's a chore. It is a full-time job just trying to keep them alive. I tell everybody cows are actively trying to die. And that's why farmers are so busy is they're trying to keep them alive.
Is that really?
Oh yeah, man. Cows were not meant to survive.
Okay.
They're bred to die. I mean,
Right.
and I don't mean that it sounds very harsh, and that's a very black and white way to put it. But I mean, physiologically, just with the way that a cow's neck is built, I mean, it's made to have its head down, 2 inches from grass and just get after it.
Right. 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 They're not somebody's pet for.
Yeah. When those people are like, oh my gosh, this cow understands me. I'm like, no, it understands the biscuit that's in your pocket. Like,
Right. Right.
take it easy.
So you have now when you moved to Nashville, do you know anybody?
I knew a couple of people, and by the grace of God above, it was the right people. So the first guy, his name's Scott Brown, and he's the Scooter Brown Band. And I told him he was out actually in Aspen, and this is the buddy that I introduced Wes to go out and play. I've known him for a long time. I think we're pushing on like 16 or 17 years. I met him when I was in high school. Yeah, about high school time. He came to town, and the buddy that taught me D, C, and G on a guitar, he's like, hey, man, my baseball coach brought in this guy out of Texas. He's going to play some songs. You should come. I was like, all right, cool. Let's go do it. And that's when I first met Scott. And he was doing a show in Aspen, and I was opening for him because I was the local guy. Everybody in Aspen, I could go and I could tell people, hey, well, let's go to this, and let's go. And a lot of people would show up. And it's because Aspen is a really tight knit community. Like the locals of Aspen, it's one of the most tight knit communities I've ever been a part of, and it's one of the coolest things on earth. And everybody supported everybody. You have your guy that's one of my really, really good friends owns a bike shop. And so all the locals know him. They're like, hey, we're going to go buy bikes at this place, and restaurants and all that fun stuff. So anyways, they're at a show and I'm playing and we're having a blast. And he comes up to me, he goes, hey man, I think it's time you move to Nashville. And I go, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, if you really want to give this a go, it's time to move to Nashville. And I said, okay, I'll give it a go. At the time I was coming out for, a week every month, a week every 2 months, something like that. And it started to go back to kind of the ranch thing. This guy walked up to Kurt one day and he said, "Hey, Bobcat Equipment Company wants you to do a commercial for them. Is there a way that you would do it?" And Kurt goes, "Nah, I'm retired from that stuff. Randy, go do this commercial." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And the guy goes, "Actually, yeah, that'd be really, really cool. We have Bobcat Equipment on the property. I would go out, I, make some side money with it." And that's how I kind of funded the start of my music career. And so I did this commercial for Bobcat Equipment Company, actually. And I was sitting there and I was talking to the guy, and they thought it was cool that I, did music and farm. And I was like, "Well, if you think it's so damn cool, how about I put my own song on it?" And the guy goes, "Oh my gosh, that's a great idea." And I was like, "Oh no, like I don't have any music. I've never written a song. I've never done any of that." So I call up Scott. I'm like, "Dude, I need your help." He goes, "No problem. We got it. I'll talk to Arliss." In comes this guy named Arliss Albritton. He is an amazing songwriter and an amazing friend. And I attribute this place that I'm living in right now is because of Arliss. Like he is one of those guys that truly, honestly wants his friends to win. We have an agreement, him and I, where whoever becomes a millionaire first, we hire the other one as our beer drinking buddy.
Nice. That's the
So
best.
that's going to be our full-time job. Yep. And so I meet Arliss, and we write this song. It's called "Everyday Working Man," and that was the first single that I was able to put out, was the song "Everyday Working Man." Turns out the relationship between the filming company and Bobcat didn't really work out, and so the song, I just put it out as a single. It didn't go on the commercial, didn't do anything like that. I just put it out as a single. It was my first ever song that I ever put out. And I don't put my music out under Randy Brown because there's 133 Randy Browns on Spotify alone.
Right.
I've been tagged. There's a dude down in Fort Worth. His name's Randy Brown. And I have been tagged by Takova's Boots, Private Parties, all these different things because we both have a picture of us holding the guitar, singing on stage as like profile pictures. And the people thumb through it. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is the guy. This is the Randy Brown." So I actually put my music out under my great great granddad's name, and it's Oland, Oland Tucker. I did some research. I looked at the market and whatnot, and there's exactly one Oland on all streaming platforms now. So that's what I put my music out under.
That's awesome.
Is that?
That is cool.
Yeah.
Now, so how much of your stuff now do you have up?
I only have a few songs right now, man.
Yeah.
It's expensive to be alive right now. It's expensive to try and be in the music industry, especially as a independent artist. It's hard. And so I put a song out, I'll write a few songs, I'll like another song, but then you got to spend. I mean, honestly, when it comes to the music industry, like I don't think people realize that it's about $3,000 from start to finish per song to put music out. So if you're trying to do a 10-song EP or a 10-song record, that's about $30,000. And that's just money that we don't have right now. So saving up money, putting songs out. I got about 4 or 5 in the hopper right now. I just got to get mastered, which is about $1,000 a piece, $1,200 a piece, and then out the door. Away they go for the listener's ear.
Isn't that crazy how much money it is for something that is realistically so short in time?
Dude, it's especially nowadays. This is a big rant of mine.
Okay.
Because of like Vines and Reels and TikTok and all that, the consumer has about a 15 to 20 second attention span. Back in 1998 or 2005 or 2008, you had to buy a record. You had to go in, you'd buy the actual physical record, a CD. You'd buy the 8-track, you'd buy the actual vinyl, and you were invested into it, and you would sit and you would listen and you would enjoy, you'd enjoy the ride that came with music.
Yeah.
Nowadays with streaming services and the way that they make algorithms to put you in playlists and whatnot is you get put on a playlist, but you're one of 65, 70 songs on that playlist, and everybody's vying for that opportunity. And then to boot, the average unsigned artist, I think they only make like $10 or $12 a month
Damn.
on streaming services. If you're getting a lot of viewership, if you're getting a lot of, so it's just everybody in Nashville has a side job. Everybody in Nashville has, a side hustle. And now if you get a song that takes off on TikTok, that counts as a stream.
Yeah.
You get kind of lucky. I have a video actually from up in Aspen. It's a sliding glass door and I'm laying on a couch and there's a mountain lion outside the window and you can barely see it. It's just barely inside the cast of the light. And I put one of my songs on it. I put the song called Nightlife on it. And that song has 25,000 or that video has like 25,000 views or something like that. But what that translates to in my pocket is, I don't know, maybe $7 or $8,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
It's kind of wild. 25,000 people have heard my song. I have no idea who they are,
Right.
but it's a tough industry to be in, and especially with AI coming out right now, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that whole album thing because I was scrolling through Facebook the other day and I saw that No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom had come out like 30 years ago this week, right? As we're talking.
Mhm.
And I had said to somebody, I was like, that was the first record that I purchased with like my own money, right? And like now
Mhm.
I'm driving in the car and I put it on and like you invest yourself, like you were saying, in these songs, and I'm singing every song from this record that I haven't probably listened to in 15, 20 years anyway. And it's like, but you're right, like, now it's like you think about when artists do put out a record, it's like, what was the last record you could think of that you could put on and sit down and listen to front to back and know every word? It doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it might happen. I think the last. It's kind of hard to put it this way, but the genres that are still doing it is rock and country, and and those are the ones that still are genuinely, they're genuinely invested in the musicianship of it, and they're invested in the transition of songs, like going from the third track to the fourth track. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and it
Yeah.
flows this way, and this is the message that I want to send out, and this is, this whole album talks about blank. um and I don't mean to take away from any other genres of music. It's just,
No.
that's what, that's why I like country music right now, and rock, is because that's what people, the artistry of it is still right there.
Yeah.
You're trying to paint a picture that the listener can associate with and that
Yeah.
they can go along for the ride with.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, and you're right. Yeah,
So,
like you think of any sort of pop star that's doing that, and like, maybe Taylor Swift comes to mind, and she's on just a different level altogether.
mhm,
But like
she's a
nobody else,
monster.
she is a monster. But I don't know how the hell she did it, because she's talented, don't get me wrong, but she tapped in and figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many people that have, opinions about Taylor Swift, but the fact of the matter is she got the same crowd to buy the same song 3 different times. And you know what? When she goes somewhere for her Eras tour, or she puts on a show, she is her own traveling economy.
Yeah.
Like, cities will fight to have her because it means that their GDP is going to grow, like, for that one weekend, it's going to grow exponentially because she's going to bring in 200,000 people. 60,000 of them are the original listeners, the Swifties. And then
Mhm.
another 20,000 are the parents. And then another 15,000 are the significant others. And it's like, I think it's awesome. I think what she did is what every artist, wants to be able to do. Morgan Wallen, as big as he is, he still doesn't do that.
No.
He doesn't have the effect that she has. And it's, but the fact is, they're still working for that. They're still trying for that. The guy that I work for, I'm a tour manager as well. and I tour manage Jamey Johnson. And he cares so much about the music and what people are going to hear and what they're going to listen to. And like, it's just super cool to be a part of that
Yeah.
day in and day out.
Now, how did you get into that? Like, how do you go from doing your own thing, with Richard, and now and hey, I'm Jamey Johnson's tour manager of all fucking things, you know?
It's, it's, again, it goes back to my buddy Arliss. Last year at the end of the year, it was probably August of last year. Money was getting tight. I wasn't able to travel. I was focusing on working on the farm and trying to just make rent and do all those things. And Arliss called me up. He's like, "Hey man, Arliss and Jamey, they moved to town about the same time, and they've known each other for, since they moved to town. I don't think any, well, that's a bold statement, but there's a group of those guys that moved to town at the same time, which is like Jamey, Lee Bryce, Jared Neiman, Randy Hauser, um, Dallas Davidson, who's one of the most amazing writers out there, Rob Hatch.
Yeah.
Those are the Trailer Park Boys. And then Arliss was a part of that. And Arliss, was in the mix of all that. And so Arliss calls me up. He goes, "Hey, Jamey needs a merch assistant for the next 6 weeks. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got nothing going on. I'd love to get out on the road. Sounds like a blast." So last year I was Jamey's merch assistant. So we go through the year, have a blast. My first kind of interaction with Jamey is I was cleaning out the semi because I was walking through the semi and all the merch was just a mess. And we had one of those days where the venue was selling, and I was like, I am going to clean this thing up. Like, I'm sick and tired of finding boxes with 4 shirts in it and this, that, and the other. So there's a mound of boxes out of the back of the semi. I'm sitting there working and I throw a box out and I turn just in time to see Jamey poke his head around the back of the semi, and he has to duck. Like, he has to move for that box to go flying by. I was like, "Oh, sorry, Jamey. Didn't know you were there." And he doesn't say anything. He just kind of looks in and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm cleaning out the semi. It's just, it needed it. I'm just trying to consolidate stuff and make it look nice and this, that, and the other." And he kind of climbs up and he looks around. He goes, "God damn, you can swing a golf club in here." And I was like, "Yeah, like, that's what we're trying to do, man." And so we cleaned it out and finished out the rest of the year. And then about February, again, money was still just real tight. There was a morning in February I woke up, I had $1.03 in my account. And I was like, "Well, yeah, somebody's not getting paid this month. It's just the way that it is."
Yeah.
And Arliss called me up and he goes, "Hey man, just wanted to let you know I was talking to Jamey. You're going to be his tour manager this year." And I said, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Yep, you're going to be his tour manager. You're going to go out and do this, this, and this, and you're going to be great at it." And that's how Arliss works. He goes, "You're going to be great at it. You got it." And then hangs up and he disappears. And I'm like, "Wait, hold on a second."
Right.
So I've never been a tour manager before. I've never done anything like that. And we actually we just finished up the bulk of the year. We got 5 more shows in December. All in November, we're going to be running around with Riley Green, doing his Damn Country Music tour. And so things are kind of slowing down a little bit. And like when we were talking about dates to be able to do this, I never thought I would be the guy that's like, "Hey man, I have this day, this day, this day. Can't do this week. Can't do that."
Right.
Give my schedule for the next month. And yeah, it's, I fell into shit and came out smelling like roses, man.
Yeah. I was telling you, like, I have tried to see, we're going on year 5 of doing this podcast. I've tried to see Jamey the last 4 years. And,
Hmm.
usually comes to Indian Ranch and great venue, the whole 9 yards. And this year I finally kind of like, I don't want to say I threw my weight around, but I kind of like put my foot down. I was like, "Listen, I'm coming to this fucking show, whether you want me to or not. And I'm doing it." Right. And so the guy that books the shows over there, he's like, "All right, well, let me see what I can do," and yada yada yada. I was like, I don't give a shit if you have to sell a kidney. Like I have been told no the last 3 years. So we had started doing photo this year, like just out of a blue, just like was like, you know what, we have a camera, let's just fuck around and find out, right? And that week we got the okay to do Flatland, we got the okay to do you guys, we got to do Cody Jinx for like 3 dates up in the Northeast, and like
Nice.
all these other like people that like I could barely use my fucking cell phone to take pictures, let alone you know what I mean. So but it was great. It was one of those things where you like you said, you just kind of own it, you fake it till you make it, and you just have to have the confidence in yourself to be able to do these things.
And that's what a lot of it is, man. And I think, I think it's a weird world that we live in where everybody has all this information at your fingertips, and nobody, everybody, I shouldn't say nobody, but the bulk of, from what I can see, and this is just my opinion, is that people are afraid to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
People are afraid to put themselves in positions where you have to say, I don't know. I don't know. Um, and I figured it out when I was when I was helping take care of the lady that owns Discount Tire, her ranch in Colorado. Um, it's a guy that I was working under that was kind of teaching me how to be around rich people and fancy people. He said 90% of the time I have no idea what I'm doing, but at least I'm doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it comes down to, man, is you have to be okay with not knowing.
Right.
There's been a lot of situations throughout this year where I don't know was the answer. Like I'll find an answer and I will figure it out, and having that confidence to be able to say, I will get it. I will do this. I will succeed. I will figure it out. I will make a solution. I just don't know how I'm going to get there. And a lot of people nowadays are just kind of afraid to do that. And that might be, a reason why I'm in the position that I'm in right now, is because I don't know. When I started playing out, when I started going out and gigging myself, it's like I have no idea how to do this, but I'm just going to start by calling people. We have this thing called Google. I'm going to just start searching up who's where. I would pull
Right.
up a town and I would just search dance hall or music venue or live music, something like that. And then it would pull up on Google Maps all these little places. And so I'd start sending out emails. As soon as one of them was like, yeah, let's do it, I would get on Google Maps and I'd find some place that's 4 hours away. I would search live music, dance hall, music venue, ABC 123, all the keywords, and I'd find the next one. And I'd just go around and, I'd play from Canada to Mexico, all along the Rocky Mountains, just seeing what I can make of it. And the same thing kind of applies to, the music industry, and the position that I'm in is I don't know sometimes, but
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out.
Now, how long did it take you to like go realize like the magnitude of what you do on a day-to-day basis, or have you even realized the magnitude of what you have to do on a day-to-day basis?
I think it kind of happened. Um, it's still kind of, how do I say it? It still hasn't necessarily set in the magnitude of what I do.
Right.
But I do understand it, from being observant and seeing what other people do, what their jobs are in certain positions, or, whatever industry it is, whether it's the music industry or this, that, or the other. One night we were comparing our steps, like your phone always tracks how many steps that you've taken.
Yeah.
It's actually this past Saturday, I looked at my steps and I was at 21,000 steps. And the day before that, I was at 20,000 steps. And the day before that was 15,000 steps. And the day after the 21, I was at, 17,000, this, that, and the other. And again, just being, in sports and ranching and all that, it's like I never really thought much of it. And then we started comparing it to other people. And then I realized that I'm on the move a lot.
Yeah.
Also with that, I can't stand technology. As we were talking before we jumped on this, is like, man,
Yeah.
I hate technology. I trust a pigeon with a note strapped to its ankle more than I trust a computer. but it's, I have to have it. I'm always on it. I woke up this morning and I was on the phone till, gosh, noon, getting ready for, all these dates in November, sending emails. We have um, Jamey has a show, a couple shows at the Schermerhorn Symphony Hall here in Nashville, where he's going to be playing his songs with the Nashville Symphony. And it's
Damn.
just, dealing with little questions and lining up, trying to alleviate as much of the questions as possible, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so there comes a massive amount of being proactive, of being like, hey, what if this happens? What if that happens? And then through doing all that, like once a show goes smooth and you realize like, oh, okay, so what I'm doing has a lot of weight to it. It carries an immense amount of responsibility that a lot of people rely on.
Yeah.
And that's, once that sets in, you're like, okay, I can't be slacking off on this day. There's no such thing as a day off when you're a tour manager.
Right. Now, being on the road, this year, especially with somebody like Jamey and playing with the people that you've played with and all that, do you see, and being new to this, do you see other TMs and say, oh, I like that, oh, I don't like that, and like trying to like mold your own way of doing things based on what you've seen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I see some tour managers and they're very they're very coarse. They're very jaded. They are, they're really hard to deal with.
Yep.
And I was talking to Arliss about this. Because I've always naturally been just a very jovial person. I've always enjoyed, the fact that I've made it this far. The fact that I've made it 35 years with the experiences that I've had, like I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that I'm not dead. Um, and I was talking to Arliss about it, and Arliss goes, that's the exact reason why you're in the position that you're in. Because every buyer, every booking agent, every venue, every promoter, all these people are going to meet Randy by God Brown, and they're going to associate their experience with Jamey Johnson on me.
Right. Right.
And so I look at some tour managers and I'm like, hey man, like you're being kind of shitty. Like
Right.
you're making life really difficult for a lot of people. And so I try to formulate it off that, like I get there's things like we have to have lines in the sand of things that we have to do and
Right.
things that we have to have. And sometimes you got to be a bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
But
Oh
at
yeah.
the end of the day, being an asshole only takes about 35 seconds at the most.
Right.
Enjoy yourself. Move on to the next problem.
Right. Right. I have doing this, I've gotten to know some TMs pretty well, and you're absolutely right. Like there's one, I'm a big Shane Smith and the Saints guy. Like love those dudes, right? And like I've seen him a bunch of
Hmm.
times, and I've had a ton of interactions with their TM Ethan. And we were at a bar one night, and I looked at him and I go, Ethan, for the longest time I thought you were the biggest prick in the entire world. But like, and then you realize it's like, okay, with when you're with certain bands and they're in certain areas of success or fame or climbing the ladder, you do kind of need that person to be like, what is this person want, or what's the angle, right? And like I got that, and it's like,
Yeah.
and like I've seen it with others, like uh, and like you start to get it once you know the business a little more, and once you realize, and
Hmm.
I think you said it perfectly, like you are right, wrong, or indifferent, you are Jamey's right hand on the road. Like you have to be. You know, that's just the name of the
Yeah.
game.
Y- Yep, exactly. And people are um there we were in Montana, and there was this little girl. I was standing on the side of the stage watching the show. And I look out in the front row, and there's this girl that had to be 14 or 15 years old, and she just had tears running down her face. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at her and I'm like, what's up with that? And she pulled out a sign. She said, "It's my birthday." I can't remember if it was 14 or 15. She said, "It's my birthday. And the only thing I wanted was to see Jamey Johnson." And she held that sign up and I was looking at it. And then her dad was standing right there. So I stepped down. I said, "Hey, man, like, it's her birthday today. She's 14, 15 years old. I have people that are my age that are in their mid 30s that have no idea who Jamey Johnson is, which to me is
Right.
mind blowing.
Right.
It's like, dude, I can't tell you how many bales of hay I have cut to the song In Color.
Right. Right.
And so I was like, that's really cool. And so Jamey, we walk him off stage. We're at the Old Saloon. And I don't know if you've ever been to the Old Saloon. It's one of the coolest, most nostalgic venues on God's green earth. And, we're walking off the stage and I kind of tap him on the shoulder. I say, "Hey, by the way, there was a little girl in the front row. It's her birthday. And all she ever wanted to do was come see Jamey Johnson." I said, "Can I bring her back here to meet you?" And he just looks at me and he goes, "Don't ever ask me a question like that." Absolutely. And so I went and grabbed that girl and I said, "Hey, come with me." I said, "Dad, right?" And the guy goes, "Yeah." I said, "Mom?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "All right, come with me." And they didn't know, who I was. They just knew I was a guy standing on the side of the stage.
Right.
So we walk around the corner and I said, "Hey, by the way," I said, "Jamey, this is the girl. It's her birthday." And Jamey turns around and he goes, "Well, how's it going?" And that little girl just melted and just lost it. And so I got to be able to see those things because they're going to associate that whole experience of Jamey Johnson off of the actions that I did. I don't want the credit for it. I don't need the credit for it.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is I don't work for, especially with Jamey, I don't work for the dollar
Right.
every day, right? I don't work because I need X amount of dollars a day. I work for Jamey Johnson. And that's the way that I look at it. Is the fact of the matter is one of my musical childhood heroes. I get to text him and say, "Hey man, what do you want to do for this?" I get to make plans with him. I get to help him succeed. I get to be a part of that because if he doesn't, we all lose. If Jamey stops working, everybody in our camp stops working. So it's like we all have to work together to keep that, to do everything that we can to make this thing roll. And it's really, really cool and really, really fun to be a part of that. Sometimes, like we were saying, you got to be a bit of an asshole to some people, you know. But most of the time, I try to brush that off. You let that go. You got to be a dick. You got to be a dick.
Right.
That's the time and the place for it. But most of the time, we get to do the coolest thing on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. So with you doing this and all that, like, and how busy you are, have you put your musical, it sounds cliche, but your musical dreams on hold for now, or are you still kind of doing things along the way?
Yes and no. I'm still trying to do things along the way. Like we were just down in Texas. I'm wearing the hat right now, Green Hall. And I have some friends out in Aspen that own a hat store. And they have stores. They have one in Round Top, Texas, and then all throughout the mountains. There's Wyoming, Montana, Utah, a couple in Colorado. And they called me up and they're like, "Hey, are you going to be in Texas at all in the month of October?" I was like, "Actually, we got 2 days. I have October 9th available." So I still go out and play. I still sneak out and I still go do some music here and there. I'll still go out and write. I'll go try and make new stuff. I still try to do all that. But it's just like, the fact of the matter is selfishly, I get to meet every promoter. I get to meet every buyer. I get to meet every booking agent. I get to meet every venue. So I can go back and I can say, "Hey, I just got my album out. I finally was able to afford it. How about I come play some music for you?" Or I can tell these booking agents, "Hey, you know, eh, this is my music. I can help you with all these venues," especially in Colorado. Being out here in Nashville, like everybody wants to go out to the mountains, but the mountains are kind of secluded and you kind of have to have a bit of a ball sack to drive through, the Rocky Mountains in November with a bus or with a van, with a trailer. I'm willing to do it because that's all I ever did.
Right.
It's kind of a two-sided thing that I'm trying to do is I get to go out and I get to work for Jamey Johnson,
Right.
but also at the same time I get to meet all the people that are going to help me with my dreams
Right.
and the things that I want to do and the places that I want to go.
Right. Now here's the big question I've been thinking about, and I've been thinking about this now for a while, like, because obviously I've talked to Wes about you. You and I have had some offshoot conversations. Right now, today, right? If somebody called and said, "Hey, let's say Taylor Sheridan calls you and says, 'Hey, I want you to run the 4 6s,'" would you drop everything and go back to ranching like that?
I lost all the sound on everything that you just said.
What did I say? Oh, um, if somebody had a huge ranch like the 4 6s, right, and called you today and said, "Hey, we want you to come and do this," you can't hear me? Fuck. It's always hold on. Don't go anywhere. Can you hear me now?
It's breaking in and out just barely.
I don't. How about now?
If it's let me see here. Let me try this. Let me try just doing this. What do you stop? Sorry, I had to record because there's a change in one of your. So
No,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
How about now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can't.
All right, hold on.
I cannot.
Let me try. Leave.
Damn it.
All right. All right. You can hear me all right?
Yeah, now I got you clear.
It's weird. Like this app it gets to like 45 minutes and then that's when it starts to like cut in and out and I don't know why and it pisses me off. But what I was asking you was if right, let's say Taylor Sheridan calls you tomorrow and says, "Hey, I want you to run the 4 6s." Would you leave this life and go back to rancher like that?
Not right now.
No.
I've had a few people ask me that and they're like, "Hey man, like what if this happened? What if that happened?" And in all honesty, like it's kind of dumb, but I got the rest of my life to go take care of somebody else's ranch. I got
Right.
the rest of my life to go do that. I don't plan on retiring. I plan on my idea of retirement is working cows in the mountains somewhere, until the day that I die.
Right.
That would be my, idea. If I made $1 bazillion doing music, then I would quit and I would go buy a ranch and I would just go live out there and I'm done,
Right.
but I still feel like there's more to do. I feel like there is more opportunity for me. I feel like there is more chance for me um to share what I have to say. There's more places for me to see. There's more people for me to meet. There's more songs for me to sing. And it's just not right now. Not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2 years, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, like
Right.
you look around the music industry and there's a lot of guys that never made it
Right.
until they were in their mid 40s.
Right.
I think it was Chris Stapleton said that you're only 3 minutes away from a lot of money and a really good time.
Right.
And so I'm just working on finding my 3 minutes, man.
Now, with that being said, right, you arguably work for probably one of the greatest voices in country music, right?
Oh yeah.
Now, with that being said, and I'm not trying to put you in an awkward position, right? But with the artists you've been able to see and the things you've been able to do, are there other artists you see or have seen that you go, "Holy shit!" Like, what are people missing? Because we talked about it, right? There are people our age that you say Jamey Johnson, and they're like, "Who the fuck is Jamey Johnson?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And for guys like us, it's like, how the hell do you not know who Jamey Johnson is, right?
Yeah.
But like along the way, have you come across another Jamey Johnson that nobody is talking about, or like not no? I mean, he's a fucking Grand Ole Opry member now at this point, but
Mm-hmm.
not talking about the way that they should be.
Man, that's the weird thing about this town. And that's the weird thing about the music industry in general is you've been to Nashville before, right?
Yeah.
Like you come to Nashville and there's music everywhere and there's opportunity everywhere. But then you go to a restaurant, or you go to a bar and you go listen to somebody sing and you see this girl up there singing and you think to yourself, "Oh my God, like this is one of the best singers I've ever heard. And this is live. Imagine what she could do in a studio." Well, then you go to breakfast the next morning and that singer is serving you your waffles.
Right.
It's like I think there are so many people out there that are amazingly talented, that are amazing people that have a stage presence, that can sing, that can play, that can do all these crazy things. But it's and I can't speak for them or why they're in the position that they're in, but it's like I think there's tons of people out there. And that's the other side of the coin that is streaming services,
Right.
right? The other side of that coin that I was bitching about earlier is that now everybody has an opportunity. 133 other Randy Browns have an opportunity to put their music out and to be able to say, yeah, this is my music. They can send it to a friend, they can send it to a colleague, they can send it, they can post it on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever they want to put it on.
Yeah.
And then there's an opportunity for them to be heard. I think there's some of the most amazing talents that nobody's going to ever hear of in Nashville, Tennessee, and even in Texas, all across the United States. Some of the most amazing talents that nobody's ever going to hear are walking these streets today.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, I can talk about like my friends, the people that I run around with. And I can talk about some other people where it's like, holy smokes, like, why haven't you made it?
Yeah.
There's one of the guy that I work for. I was actually just talking to him on his farm out here. I should say that it's not Jamey. The guy that I work for on his farm, he has a band called Halfway to Hazard, and I watched him play a show one time. I'd never been to a show. Me and Chad, all we know of each other is that we both like to farm. We like to be outside. He likes to ride dirt bikes. I like to go hunting. I like it's kind of what we do. Well, then I went and saw one of his shows and I thought to myself, I was like, what in the hell? Like, dude, where did you come from? What is happening here? Like, why am I just now hearing about your songs? And I didn't know you could play a guitar like that and all these different things. And he used to run out with Tim McGraw. They used to open for Tim McGraw. I think they wrote a song that Tim McGraw cut. They had a great relationship with Tim. One of his best friends was Eddie Montgomery. No,
Yeah.
wait, Troy Gentry.
Yeah.
Troy Gentry that passed away.
Yeah.
That was one of his best friends. And it's like the question at hand is like, why didn't you make it? And the only reason that I could even fathom is because they were just ahead of their time.
Right.
And there's a lot of artists out there that are just ahead of the time. There's a lot of people out there. There's some amazing, fantastic talents that, who knows what's going to happen to them. But we're all out here just fighting, trying to make it work, doing whatever we can. I know people, and the movie industry is very similar with that too, where, people to be an actor or to be a performer, people are willing to go to some crazy lengths, sleeping in tents, sleeping on couches, to fight for this thing that they're trying to do. And it's like, man, all you can do is have the utmost respect for them.
Yeah.
Like, y'all are doing it. But is that going to pay off? Is it going to pay off for me being where I'm at? Thankfully, I'm lucky. Like I put myself in a position where I can be in a house and I can still try and work on my dreams and I can work on my stuff. But it's like, if nobody listens to my music, then nobody listens to my music, and I go back to ranching in X amount of years. But I don't think it's just that time yet.
Right. Now, with that being said, right, and we talk a lot about country music, but like from where you sit in the circles you run around in, take yourself out of that in the state of country music as a whole, right? Where do you
Hmm.
see the state of country music going? Do you think we're leaning back towards that more traditional '90s sound? You know, I say traditional '90s,
Yeah,
right? That sounds so fucking weird to
that's
say.
traditional for us.
Right. You know, back when we were kids.
Hmm.
Or do you think it's gonna go more towards the Morgan Wallens of the world?
Um, I think there's an interesting split happening right now, where both kinds of music are going to be appreciated and valued. I think country music that you and I, like you say, traditional country music, I think we call it traditional because that's what I remember listening to in my great grandma's car while I was standing up in the back, in the front seat with one arm around my grandma and one arm around my grandpa because seatbelts weren't a thing.
Right.
And,
Right.
listening to that kind of music. I think because of the guys like Zach Top.
Yeah.
Um, I think because of the guys like Turnpike Troubadours. I think because of the guys like Shane Smith, um, Flatland, you'd mentioned them earlier. I feel like those guys are bringing back that traditional kind of country kind of sound.
Yeah.
And I think people hear that and they're like, dude, this is fantastic. Red Clay Strays are a great
Yeah.
example of that too. I mean, they're even going farther back than what Zach Top represents.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's kind of a bit of a split because everybody, I think everybody has room and capacity in their ear for traditional classic country. And then there's also those times in that space for the kind of quote unquote bro country.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is kind
Right.
of like hip hop with a backbeat.
Right.
And there's a lot of that in music, and being able to kind of see that split again, that's that dude's art. And if that's the art that he's going to put out, then put it out, bro. Let that music fly. And if
Right.
people love it, by shit, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm happy that it worked out for you. Me personally, I'm going to try and follow that more traditional country route,
Right.
because that's what I can associate with. One of my real good friends, he's one of my best friends actually. His name's Sawyer Firkins, and Sawyer's putting out music right now that's kind of going towards that storyteller, traditional kind of cowboy music.
Yeah.
And he's got him and I wrote a song that he just put out called Road Dog. And I told him, I was like, let's write one of these days, because him and I had never written. We've done everything together. We grew up, I mean, gosh, we grew up an hour and a half apart, but we didn't know, we met when we were here in Nashville. And I was like, let's write a song. And so we're sitting in his garage. I was like, man, I've always wanted to use the line. Um, it's let's see, play till 2 a.m. and then I wake up at 5. Like, because that's what I was used to doing, man. I was used to playing until 2 o'clock in the morning, packing up, jumping into the van, or maybe we get a hotel room, and then we got to be on the road by 5 a.m. so we can make it to the next spot. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, you got to fight through. And so we wrote a song called Road Dog that's leaning more traditional country. And, that's kind of that's where my heart is in that traditional kind of country realm. But man, if somebody wants to put out something with a backbeat, I hope the best for you. And I
Right.
want you to be successful. I want you to win. I want people to listen to that. I'll listen to it, but that's just not what I'm going to be putting out.
Right. Now, what do you think about the way the fans kind of interact with it? You know, because I think there's also a split there where it's like it's either you love it or you hate it. You know what I mean? And there's not much of a middle ground.
Yeah, there's and I think that's, people love, and it's like one or the other, like it's a split. You either love traditional and hate bro, or you love bro and hate traditional.
Right.
And I use that, sorry, I say bro country just to differentiate.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
No,
what I mean? Like,
I
I
know
don't I
exactly
don't
what.
mean it negatively.
Yeah.
Um and I think that comes a lot from, like, like if you put your playlist on shuffle or whatever it is, you could go from Morgan Wallen to Drake
Yeah.
to what's that dude that's doing the halftime show? Bad Bunny
Yeah.
to Kesha to whatever, like that's kind of like where your music leans and it all kind of blends together. Well, if I'm on, if you pull out my iPod, you're going to pull up music that's traditional country. You're going to pull up music from the 40s, the 50s, Muscle Shoals in the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to hear some Whitney Houston. I'm man enough to admit it. She is going to be singing. Like I think it's what you want to listen to. But there are those times where um I find myself in a bar or something like that, and something comes on, and all of a sudden you're just like, this is not bad.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I've never heard this song. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
And you can appreciate that one. And then, that's how it kind of opens up your world into um that new genre. You know what I mean?
I do. Because it's funny because like I mean, obviously you know who Dan and Shay is, right? Everybody
Yeah.
that doesn't live under
Yeah.
a rock knows who they are. So I've become pretty good friends with Shay's sister Gabby. And her and I will text every now and again, and like I'll be in the car or somewhere, and I'll be like, and I'll text her, I'll be like, your brother's on the fucking radio again, and I'm like, I can't, and I'll bust her balls about it, and like, and she'll give it right back to
I
me.
can't shake this guy.
Right, right. There was one time I got into somebody's car, and like there was the first like a Dan and Shay song came on, and I took a picture and I sent it to her, and I'm like, I can't get away from your fucking brother. And like it's just one of those kind of things, and and like she's an artist and her music is much different than that, and like we've had that kind of conversation, and it's nice to be able to have those conversations with people in the industry that are like like just like this, where it's like, dude, you like that stuff, have at it, but I'm gonna like this stuff, but we could still converse about why it all is under the country umbrella.
Yeah. And it's like there's no reason why we can't cheer each other on,
Right.
like it's I mean, you think of like I got a buddy out here who's a photographer. He moved out here from Los Angeles because he didn't want to raise his son in LA.
Right.
But he still needed to be in a metropolitan area that had entertainment because he's an entertainment photographer. Um, and he's from Australia. I don't know shit about soccer. But you know what? I sit down and I watch soccer with him.
Right.
And he's teaching me about it. And I'm competitive as can be. So like I'll be like, hey man, that was good, right? We wanted that. He goes, oh yeah, we want that. And it's like, yes. And then, we'll talk about American football. We'll talk about baseball. He called me up one day and he goes, hey man, you ever heard of a guy named Bryce Harper? I was like, yeah. Like, yeah. Are you living under a rock? Of course.
Right.
He goes, oh, I'm going to go do his photo shoot for his new protein for him. And I was like, dog, like,
Jesus
do you realize
Christ.
what you're walking into?
Right.
But that's that's the differing opinions,
Right.
like I want everybody to reach that level of success that they want to reach. Some people just want to put music out. I was golfing yesterday. Got home. It was a beautiful day. I didn't want to sit inside. So I went golfing. And I was talking to this one kid and he goes, yeah, I put music out. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, are you working on it? Are you touring? He goes, no, I'm just putting music out. Just fun for me. I'm like, okay. Like that's your level of success. That's your degree of success that you
Right.
want to reach. And by God, I'm so happy that you're doing it. And there's some people out there that they will sell the blood out of their mother to be able to play at Lollapalooza or Bonnaroo or whatever massive festival there is. And it's just like, dog, like, I hope you get there. Like, I wish the best for you. And in any way that I can help you, I will do my damnedest to help you. So,
Yeah. Now, do you get that a lot? Where like what if you're having a conversation with somebody and you just it comes up in conversation, do they like, oh, how can you help me? Like, do you get a lot of that? Like,
man, this town is interesting like that. because and I think it's every town. And I'll put a little disclaimer, like I think it's every town, and I don't know if it's just because that's the way human beings are, is like you're going to try and better yourself any way that you can or put yourself in a better position. But there are those relationships, and you find out with people that they're very um contractual, or they want something from you.
Right.
And then as soon as you try to get something from them, they'll be like, oh, I don't know if I can do that for you. But then all of a sudden you feel like they owe you, and a lot of people do that.
Right.
To me, if somebody asks for a hand, somebody calls me up like, man, I'm in a bad spot, I need $500. No problem, I'll give you $500. Let me help you out, and I'm not gonna expect anything in return. um but there are a lot of people. I never tell anybody what I used to do. I never tell anybody that I call Goldie Hawn Mama G.
Right.
It's like, I'm not going to tell people who my friends are, because
Right.
then all of a sudden they go, oh, can I talk to them? Can I talk to this guy? Can I talk to that guy?
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
man, is there a way that you can get Jamey to do this? And it's just like, like, I understand that in some situations, you know, it's, they don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
They just think it'd be really cool, and
Yeah.
I have a relationship with them. But in most cases, like, there's a lot of they feel like there's like obligation or something
Hmm.
like that. We're like, well, I did this for you, so you got to do something for me.
Right.
And it's like, whatever happened to the goodness of your heart?
Right.
Like,
Right. Even doing this, like I can kind of empathize a little bit, where like, we go to shows all the time. We've been very fortunate on the things we've been able to do, right? Like, and like people will come out of the woodwork and be like, "Well, why didn't you ask me to go? Well, why didn't you, well, why can't you get me into this?" And
mhm.
and it's like, dude, like, it's almost like go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I've
Yeah.
worked my ass off to do this so that you can come along for the ride.
Yeah, I get people, like, even like as a tour manager of Jamie, they're like, "Hey man, can you get me tickets for this? Can you get me tickets for here?" And like, some people, I understand why they do it. Like, for
Right.
some people, there's a gal that I know. She's one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met in my life, and she works for the federal government. She works um, around staff of the White House.
Yeah.
And she texted me one day. She said, "Is there any way that you could get me tickets to Old Dominion at this venue on this day?" And I understand that, because in those positions, they can't just walk up to the box office and be like, "Hello, I'm here. I'm so and so." When you got 11 Secret Service agents surrounding you, like drawing attention, it's like, yes, that one, I don't have anything, I have zero expectations in return. Let me help you out, because
Right.
I understand that situation. Lo and behold, they got the tickets. They couldn't make it because something else came up, whatever it was. Um, and it doesn't hurt my feelings one little bit. But when it's somebody that's like, hey, bro, remember that one time I did this for you?
Right.
Remember that one time I put $10 in your car, and you think you can get me tickets for that? It's like, dude, I drove you everywhere. Like,
Right.
you owe, like, if you want to keep track, like, you used my car for a week.
Right. Yeah. I I can't tell you. Like, and it's like, like when I started doing this, it was never. I never had any expectation, like, of anything, right? Like, I just wanted to have conversations with people because I like to talk. I like to fucking shoot the shit. I like to learn about
Yeah.
people, and that's it. When the other stuff started to come, I'm not gonna lie to you. Did it go to the head? Does it go to the head? Of course it does. That's just human nature.
Mhm.
But like, you know, when you're somewhat good at what you do, you know, a lot of the things just start to come, and it's not a, hey, can you do this for me so I can, it's just, when you're doing what you love to do, it just falls into place.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing about it is, like, it falls into place because you're doing what you love, but you also have worked really, really hard
Yeah.
for the last 4 years. like you said, you've been told no for 3 or 4 years in a row at Indian Ranch, but then all of a sudden they're like, all right, we can help you out.
Right.
There's a lot of no's and there's a lot of hard work that goes along with that. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned. And you would be surprised at how many people don't know that. You'd
Right.
be surprised at how many people have they just think that it just falls into your lap.
Yeah. No.
It's like,
No.
no, dude. Have you ever done a 24-hour run? Have you ever driven from Western Colorado to Nashville in 23 hours and 30 minutes so you could make it for a show the next day on zero sleep? Like
Right.
I did that last summer. I left Colorado at 5 a.m. and I got back to Nashville at 5:30 a.m.
Damn.
I'm sorry, 4:30 5:30 a.m. That was, I think that's the right math because the hour change or whatever
Yeah.
it is. So that way I can make it for an event the very next day. You know, driving, like I was telling you, waking up 3 o'clock in the morning so I could do all my chores on the ranch, then jump in my truck, drive all the way to Laramie, Wyoming, like do all that stuff. It's like you think that it just kind of falls into place, but really it comes with a lot of hard work and a lot
Yeah.
of effort and putting in time and missing, going out to hang out with your friends and missing so many different things. But it's like, it just comes with hard work. The harder you work, the luckier that you get.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And people just need to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. We could have a whole podcast on just that.
I know, right?
It's fucking, if, I, not to get too into me, but like, if there's one thing I've learned from all of this is that exactly what you said, it doesn't just get handed to you. Like you have to sacrifice some things, whether you realize it when you're doing it or as time goes on. You if you love what you do and you're trying to make something of it, things fall by the wayside, unfortunately. And it's
Mhm.
I'm not going to say that's good, bad, indifferent. It's just what happens.
Yeah, that's part of entertainment. And even, by putting your time and effort into a podcast, like this podcast is entertaining.
Yeah.
And what it comes down to is people are gonna consume this because it's entertaining to hear about the dude that's running around with Jamey Johnson that used to work for Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. They're like, oh my gosh, have you heard of this guy? Never heard his music before, but man, it was an interesting conversation that they had. He said ABC 1, 2, 3. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He does know what he's talking about. But it's through hard work and taking your time and sacrificing a lot of your own personal um a lot of your own personal time, your personal money,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of your effort to be able to turn it into something. You got to work your ass off now, so that way in 3 to 5 years, you can maybe take a vacation on your own dime.
Right.
You can
Right.
maybe be able to go do different things where you don't have to answer to anybody.
Right.
I work for myself. That's the best part. But again, as an entertainer, it's like you don't get a 4th of July to yourself. There's no
Right.
such thing.
Right.
Like you gotta say goodbye to all the summertime activities.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn, man. It's been really cool to hear your story and, hear the way you've done it, and, because it's nice to hear somebody that's actually worked, not that other people haven't, but to hear your work ethic and how you've done it. It really is inspiring. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, but it's nice to
Oh,
see
thanks,
some.
man.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's nice to see somebody actually work for what they want.
Yeah, and it's something. It's again, it goes back to just the world that we live in, is of being a 15-second world. Is some people, they just hit a lick and they take
Yeah.
off and they erupt and they become these overnight sensations, whether it's being a YouTuber or an influencer or whatever it is. I had one of my buddy's kids. I was talking to him and I was like, hey man, like, what do you want to do with yourself? Like your dad used to be an electrician and now he's he takes care of ranches and he's training horses. What do you want to do? He goes, I want to be a YouTuber. And for a second, I was like, uh, in my mind, my immediate reaction was like, what is that?
Right.
But then there was also a time in our world where somebody would say, I want to be a musician. And people would look at them the same way that I looked at that kid. And I was
Right.
like, you know, the times are changing, things are different. Buddy, if you want to be a YouTuber, by God, go be a YouTuber.
Right.
Work your ass off, work harder than anybody else. Nobody, there might be, there is, I will say it, there is a better guitar player out there than me. There is a better singer out there than me. There's a better songwriter. Everybody is better than me. But the one thing that I have control over is nobody can outwork me. I
Right.
can make sure that I can work harder than anybody else. And if a lot of people took that mentality, whether it was for a podcast or for music or for being a carpenter, if everybody took that kind of mentality, we'd have some pretty cool shit coming out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, Randy,
Mhm.
I've had a blast chatting with you, and I can't thank you enough for taking your
Yeah,
personal time to, shoot the shit. It's been great, man. And I know I probably can't provide much, but if you ever need anything up here or whatever, man, just always holler. And whenever you come through,
absolutely, man. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, whenever you guys come through again and you want to say hey and grab a beer or whatever, if you have 5 minutes, like I'd love to say hey.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you again also for thinking
Of
of me, and
course.
thank you for um, being patient to be able to put this
Yeah.
together and be able to sit down. And I tell everybody is like I'm one of the busiest guys on God's green earth, but I will always make time for somebody.
Yeah.
I will always make time to be able to do things like this, because this is one of those things where everybody wins.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to sit down. We haven't flipped each other off on camera yet, so we're
It's
good.
true.
Be
It's
happy to
true.
do it again and chat with you for some more stuff. We can go deeper into some of the stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. I would love to. Any time, man. Anytime.
Mhm. I'll tell you the story about when I was playing a show and I got roped into riding a buffalo.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Now I want to hear that story. Oh.
Uh, it's, it was. We'll finish on this one.
All right.
I was in where was I at? I can't remember the town. It's outside of Fargo, North Dakota. And one of my buddies, they do like rodeo promotion and all the banners that you see around rodeos, and they make like all the bullfighters, they kind of wear jerseys that look kind of like sports jerseys, and their company's called Arena Wear. And he called me up and said, hey, we're doing this event called Bowls, Barrels, and Boxing at the Bonsack Ranch in North Dakota. And I was like, well, that sounds like a great event. I would love to go do that. So I went to this event and they weren't lying. There was bull riding, there was barrel racing, full rodeos, and there was boxing. Like they wheel out a mat and they wheeled out a boxing ring. They had boxing in the middle of it. So we're getting ready to play. And I'm standing up there plugging in and sound checking, and my buddy Lyndon was there. And the guy walks up, he goes, hey, do you want to ride a buffalo? And I just snapped up. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And then I realized what I just said. And I was like, oh no, like I committed to something really big, but I can't bitch out now because I said yes very confidently. Um, so he goes, all right, I need you over at the chutes in 10 minutes. And so we go over to the chutes and they unload a trailer full of buffalo and they put them in the chutes and they get into these chutes, dude. And those are the meanest damn things I've ever seen in my life.
Damn.
And they get them all lined up and I'm sitting there looking over this buffalo and I showed up with music equipment. All right. That's all I have. And this guy comes running up. He goes, hey man, do you need to borrow my bull rope? And I go, well, I guess, yeah. And he goes, I'll be right back. And he just takes off and just disappears into the crowd. Comes running back, has his bull rope. We get him all lined out. And I go to sit down on this thing and I put my ass on his back and it damn near jumped out of the chute, straight up in the air. I catch myself. It kicks my foot some way, somehow. And it finally got to the point where this thing was just wild as can be. And so the chute boss comes up. He goes, "Hey, man, we're just going to have to rope it over the top and you're just going to have to drop in." And I said, "Are you joking right now? Like, this is a buffalo." He goes, "Yeah, you'll be good." And he just walked away. So I had to put my feet on the gate in the chute and I was hovering over this thing. And I looked at the gate guy and I was like, "All right, let's go." He pulled that gate open. I dropped down on that buffalo. It took off and it took a hard left turn and just threw me right off the side.
Damn. Fuck. I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. Oh. It's one thing you'll never get me to do.
Oh man, it's some of the most fun. I get why they do it, man. Like I get why rodeo guys do rodeo stuff. Like it was an absolute rush. And so part of the music adventure that I'm on is I get to have memories that I get to tell people about. And one of them's riding a buffalo.
Yeah. Damn. Well, Randy, like I said, thank you again.
So
Man, you're the greatest. I appreciate everything you've doing and have done, and don't be a stranger.
absolutely, man. Reach out if you need anything.
Will do.
All right.
Thanks,
See you,
man.
buddy.
See ya.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Our conversation with Randy Brown. Again, Randy, thank you so much again for dude, come on, guys. I mean, think about it, right? Jamey Johnson's TM has worked ranches for some of the biggest and best people in entertainment. I mean, Goldie Hawn. I mean, come on. Could you imagine having Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell as your boss? I can't even think about a world where Kurt and Goldie know who I am, let alone that. Anyway, that's some cool shit. So thank you again. It was a great conversation. Like, this is what this podcast is all about. Aha moments like this. What else we got? Lakeview. We went past weekend. A big thank you to them, Jesse and Luke, and their whole camp. They were absolutely fantastic to us. We got some pictures. We posted them up on our Instagram and our socials. We are going back to writing reviews. I don't know why we've stopped. I know why, because I'm lazy as fuck. But we're doing it. I'm gonna post old ones. They're not relevant, but I wrote them. We wrote them. I shouldn't. It wasn't just me. It's a group effort sometimes. So we should post them. Read them, don't read them. I give a fuck. We did not win a Josie Music Award for some fucking reason. I don't understand. I'm a little bitter about it. I'll get over it. I'll get over it. I'm an only child, right? But yeah, we missed out on it. Our friends over at Melodies and Memories missed out. Listen, I don't get it, right? But it's not about awards, right? It's not about awards. We were nominated. Like, that's fucking awesome. But it's not about winning or losing. At least that's what I'm going to say out loud. So yeah, maybe next year, right? Maybe next year. Okay, but whatever. It's not about awards. It's just about I do this because I love doing this. I don't do it for any other reason, and for you guys. So thank you. I'm going to shut the fuck up now. We'll see you next Wednesday. I think Walker Montgomery is here next Wednesday. I think that's the play there. So stay tuned. Have a great week, guys. Be good to each other. Cheers.